In the meantime, a section of human rights defenders have called for speedy investigations and prosecution of security officers found to have engaged in acts of police brutality.
This even as the Law Society of Kenya demanded urgent compensation of families of victims of police brutality, insisting on the need to cease alleged unlawful arrests and abductions.
The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights says it recorded 74 cases of enforced disappearance in the period between June and November 2024.
The Commission has documented 1,376 arbitrary arrests, as well as 610 cases of injuries from June 18 to November 2024. Of the injuries were inflicted by the security officers against protesters.
Out of these, the Commission, through its chair, Rosalyn Odede, says at least 26 people are still missing in the aftermath of the Anti-Finance Bill 2024 protest. It is against this backdrop that the Commission called on the government to step up efforts to address the alleged police brutality and prosecute culprits.
We call upon IPOA and to investigate and recommend charges against any officers implicated in extrajudicial killings. We further call on the government to adopt the Minnesota Protocol on the investigation of potentially unlawful death.
Abductions, torture, disappearances, arbitrary arrests ought to be investigated for the country to establish what exactly happened during the 2023 Azimio-led demonstrations and the 2024 Gen Z-led #RejectFinanceBill demonstrations.
Sentiments echoed by the Law Society of Kenya, who now want the Independent Policing Oversight Authority (IPOA) adequately resourced to thoroughly probe alleged acts of police brutality.
Subject to the report of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority and the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, the National Security Council to direct the Inspector General of Police to open disciplinary proceedings against all perpetrators of police misconduct or brutality and torture, and that the reports of such proceedings be availed to the Director of Public Prosecution for the institution of criminal charges.
The Law Society of Kenya also demanded compensation of families of all confirmed victims of alleged police torture.
The families of all confirmed victims of police killings be traced, and that the Independent Police Oversight Authority and the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights provide Our Excellency, the President, with a rationalized formula for determining adequate compensation for the loss and suffering incidental to the death of their kin.
The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights also urged the National Treasury to disburse optimal resources to agencies handling the Shakahola massacre, noting that less than 10% of the 448 bodies discovered in the tragedy have been identified and handed over to the families for interment.
We have called as a commission for resources to be availed to various agencies, including the government chemists. The reagents, particularly for DNA profiling, are fairly expensive, and these had not been factored in the budget of the government chemists, they tell us, because they had not anticipated this magnitude of work.
John Kahiro, Prime Edition.